Martial arts are a way of life for the warrior. Everyone from the commander to the foot soldier must be familiar with the arts of war and the way of strategy, although it is the commander's primary responsibility. There is no perfect strategy. Therefore, no one can say that they have a complete understanding of it. There are many paths one may take in life. There is the path of salvation by faith. There is the path of philosophy, or of education. There is the path of a poet, or of an artist. All people pursue paths of one type or another, and all people are inclined to believe one way or another. People are drawn to the path that brings them the most satisfaction. There are not many people who are drawn to the path of the warrior. The warrior stands alone. A proper warrior must be versed in several paths. Not only must he devote his time and energy to perfecting his martial art, but he should also strive to master other paths as well. A warrior should be comfortable not only with the sword, but also with the brush. He should not only be able to take life, but he must be able to create beauty as well. Even those warriors who are not well adapted to poetry or painting should strive for perfection in these areas. It is generally believed that the path of the warrior is encumbered with death, both the deaths of his opponents and his preparation for his own inevitable death. The truth is that we all must die. It is the resolute end of us all, whether we are prepared or not. The only shame in death is dying for no reason. Many people from all paths of life have lain down their lives for honor or for the sake of a loved one. Under these circumstances, we are all like warriors. The real path of the warrior is the pursuit of excellence in all that they do. Whether you are writing poetry, painting, or drawing swords for combat, you must strive to be better than anyone else. Whether triumphing over a single opponent, or winning wars with armies, the warrior's thoughts should remain first on serving his employer well, and then on his own interest. The warrior's last priority should be making a name for himself. Some people believe that the path of the warrior and the study of the martial arts are only useful in the case of war. This is not so. If you attain enlightenment in the martial arts, then all that you do will be enlightened, and all that you teach to others will come from an enlightened mind. Such is the way of strategy. Everywhere that people have pursued the art of strategy, a few have eventually become known as masters. You must study their lessons without stopping. Many people who claim to be masters these days really only teach a few basic techniques in order to make a living. Take, for example, the priest of Kashima and Kantori in Hitachi province, who recently opened their schools. They claim to have learned their martial arts from the gods, and they now travel all over the country, teaching others. The study of strategy has long been listed among the 10 skills and 7 arts most profitable to learn. Thus, if we are talking about strategy, it can hardly be limited to the study of a few basic sword techniques. Even the art of the sword by itself cannot be learned by the study of techniques alone, much less the entire realm of strategy and military science. Look around, and you will find many people who sacrifice true martial arts for profit. They dance about and try to look flashy, making a commodity of themselves. They invent silly things to sell, even if they are obviously useless. And they never stop and think about what they are doing. They claim that this school or that school is better based on nothing but how well they show off, and they are more concerned with making a profit by teaching rather than taking the time to learn. It's like separating the flower from the seed and valuing the flower more, even though it will quickly fade, and the seed can give them many flowers. As they say, a little knowledge is a dangerous thing. Generally speaking, there are 4 basic groups in life. 1. Laborers. 2. Merchants. 3. Craftsmen. 4. Managers. The most common folk are the laborers. Laborers, such as farmers, possess many various tools and spend their lives watching for, in anticipation of changing seasons. Such is the way of a laborer. Second is the merchant, such as the winemaker. They gather the ingredients and make their wine, then sell it for a profit. Whatever they sell, the merchant makes his living by trade at a premium. Such is the way of the merchant. Third are the craftsmen, such as carpenters and architects. The craftsman has many tools at his disposal. He must be able to draw up plans for an entire project and then carry out construction accordingly. A craftsman must also calculate measurements accurately and be diligent at his craft. Such is the way of the craftsman. Managers, such as warriors, noblemen, and landowners, are the highest class. They control people and resources. Managers spend their time constructing or learning about various weapons that will give them the advantage over others. This is absolutely necessary. Failure to properly understand a weapon, or to miss gaining the upper hand because of improper use of a weapon, suggests shortcomings in a manager's ability. Therefore, laborers, merchants, craftsmen, and managers are the 4 walks of life. As a description, we use the word house to refer to many things. We often speak of noble houses, financial houses, military houses, and many others. I will use this metaphor to explain strategy as well. The word carpenter is written with the same Chinese character that could also read master plan. If you want to understand strategy, read this very carefully. The lesson is the needle, and you are the thread. Let this image be in your mind constantly. The chief carpenter is responsible for organizing materials and resources, and for the overall quality of work from those carpenters under him. He must know the building codes of the region, the laws of the city, and the expectations of the landowner for whom he is building the house. By reason of his trade, the chief carpenter must know how to build any and every type of dwelling and establishment, and he must know how to get his carpenters to construct these buildings properly. In this, the chief carpenter is the same as a general. Before the construction of a house starts, the lumber is sorted. Lumber that is beautiful, free from knots, and strong is used for support in the very front. Lumber that is not so beautiful and has some knots, but is nevertheless strong, is used for support in the back of the house, where no one will see it. Lumber that is beautiful and free of knots, but not as strong, is used for door frames, doors, and lintels. Strong lumber can always be used discreetly in construction, even if it's not so beautiful, so long as care is taken, and the result will be a strong house. Even that lumber which is weak and knotted is used for scaffolding. and later for firewood. The chief carpenter gives out work assignments according to the ability of his men. He will assign some to work on the alcove, some to build the doorways and walls, some to construct the lintels and windows, and so forth. The less skilled the worker, the less responsibility he is given. Some will work on preparing lumber, and some will fetch supplies. It is in this way that the chief carpenter makes the best use of each worker, thus increasing productivity. To build anything quickly and maintain quality means not being disorganized with anything. Know the dispositions of your men, understand their individual motivations, know how to offer proper incentive, and understand how to instill confidence. Never demand the unreasonable, and offer encouragement when it is needed. These are the things a chief carpenter thinks about. The principles of all strategy are the same. Every carpenter is like a warrior in that he must clean and care for his own tools. He must ensure that they are sharp and store them properly before carrying them around. The carpenter works under the command of the chief carpenter, making pillars and beams with an axe. He shapes floorboards and cabinets with a plane. He even carves elaborate decorations in the open for all to admire. The carpenter must calculate correctly and follow the blueprints perfectly. Such is the way of a carpenter. Those who apply themselves, work diligently, and study constantly can one day become chief carpenters themselves. It is necessary for the accomplished carpenter to keep sharp tools and to care for them constantly. Then he can build small, elaborate shrines, writing tables, lanterns, cutting boards, and pot covers. Warriors are essentially the same as carpenters. You should meditate on this with deep concentration. The test of a carpenter is that his work, when finished, is straight and smooth, not warped and misaligned. It should be well planed and free of abrasion, and should stand the test of time. If you are sure you want to learn the way of strategy, then you should ponder each of these things in great detail.